Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to another Season 9 League of Legends Champion Guide. In today's video, I'm going to be covering Vayne, the Night Hunter. In this video, I'm going to be covering things like your strengths and weaknesses, your runes, abilities, skill order, combos, lane phase, and some synergies and counters as well. And also on a final note, I do also have a Discord server as well, so if you're looking for any extra information or you just like to come by and talk anything League of Legends, that'll be down in the video description as well. So with that out of the way, let's talk about what Vayne is good at. For starters, she's got a very low cooldown reposition ability that also grants her stealth when used during her ultimate. This is going to make her really slippery and hard to get on top of, which of course is going to be great for a squishy AD carry. You've also got some really solid true damage built into your W ability and even a crowd control from your E. All of this true damage is going to make you a really strong late game hyper carry and one of the best duelists out there amongst all the AD carries. Despite all of these strengths, you still have your fair share of weaknesses. Although she is incredibly strong in the late game, she doesn't have the best early game out there. That means a lot of the champions in the AD carry and support pool will be able to bully you through the early lane phase, and farming could be hard for you. You are also a squishy champion that has a low effective range. You're going to have to use the mobility that comes from your Q to dodge those skill shots so you're able to get the farm throughout the lane phase. This is very important on an AD carry like Vayne because most of your damage does come from your items, it's not really built into your abilities. Now as for my rune page, I like to go for precision and domination, grabbing press the attack as my keystone. This is a very strong keystone on Vayne because you do have an auto attack reset on your Q ability, so you can get those 3 attacks out very quickly. Since your silver bolts is based off 3 basic attacks, these combo together really well and can output a lot of burst damage as long as you can get those 3 attacks on a champion. I then like to go through the precision side and get overheal as my first option just to get a nice shield when I do get some extra healing, but Triumph is a great option as well. Then I get Alacrity just so I get additional attack speed on takedowns, and finish it up by getting Coup de Grace so it deals 7% more damage to low health enemies. Now as for the domination side, I like to go for Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter. Both of these when comboed together will give you a little bit of extra sustain, which will make the lane phase just a little bit easier for you, and can of course use your overheal and proc that extra shield. In those easier lanes, you could go for inspiration and get magical footwear and biscuit delivery as well, but usually you will need the extra sustain, so domination is generally going to be the better option. Then finally, just like all the other AD carriers out there, for your secondary runes you want to get 10% attack speed from offense, 9% adaptive force from flex, and then 6 armor from defense. You could always option out that armor for some magic resist against very pokey support AP champions, but generally you'll want to go for armor. Now as for your summoner spells, if you are playing Vayne in the bottom lane, you want to stay very generic and take Flash and Heal. Flash is definitely going to be the best option for you because you are a very squishy AD carry and you can use it throughout the game to save your life over and over again. You always have the option of using it offensively as well, so you can get an angle on somebody to stun them into a wall with your E, so it has great uses all around. You've then got Heal in the bottom lane for both yourself and your teammate as a nice defensive. It will give you both just a little bit of extra survivability, and you can always pop it for the movement speed as well if you're trying to get on top of a target. For any of those players that are wanting to play Vayne in the top lane to bully the crap out of bruisers, instead of Heal, you will want to go for Teleport. Now we're going to look at your abilities, starting with your passive, Night Hunter. This ability will make it so Vayne gains 30 bonus movement speed when moving towards a nearby visible enemy champion. During Final Hour, which is her ultimate, Night Hunter's bonus movement speed is tripled to 90. So on the surface, this passive does seem kinda simplistic, but it's actually pretty vital to helping you chase down enemies and secure kills. This extra movement speed will help you chase down a lot of those low health enemy targets, allowing you to get off a few more extra auto attacks and sometimes getting you those kills. You do have to keep in mind that this will work only on those visible enemy champions. If anybody is hiding in brush, you will not get this movement speed. It's not always going to be that useful because it does only work when you're moving towards enemy champions, not when running away from them, but when you are trying to chase low health targets, it is a pretty damn nice passive. Next up is your Q ability, Tumble. When activated, Vayne will roll forward, making your next basic attack deal bonus physical damage, and will also reset your auto attack timer. When used during your ultimate, the cooldown will be reduced by 50% and grant invisibility for 1 second. So this ability alone is why Vayne is one of the more slippery AD carries to play against, because it does give her a nice little gap creation and also invisibility during the ult. This gives you just a little bit more damage as well and also resets your auto attack timer, so it's a great way to proc your silver bolts really quickly. During the game, you'll also want to be using this to dodge as many skill shots as possible to keep yourself healthy. It's also worth noting that Tumble does not go through terrain, but you can use it against terrain to get off an auto attack reset and output a lot more damage, so that's a great way to use it as well. Next up, we have your W ability, Silver Bolts. Vayne's basic attacks and Condemn both apply a stack of Silver Bolts up to 3 times. Attacking a new target, however, will remove all of the stacks. The third stack will consume them to deal bonus true damage, which can be up to 14% of the target's maximum health. This is part of the reason we will go for a lot of attack speed early on Vayne, because it will apply your Silver Bolts really quickly and do a ton of damage to those tankier targets. Against team compositions that are going to have a lot of armor and health, Vayne will output a ridiculous amount of damage. During those team fights though, you'll have to make sure you stick on single targets as much as possible so you can actually proc your Silver Bolts. Try not to switch from target to target. Just keep in mind that you can always use your Q as an auto attack reset to get these out just a little bit quicker, and your E's Condemn will apply one as well. Next here we have your last basic ability, Condemn. When activated, Vayne fires a bolt towards the target, knocking them back 475 units. If the target hits terrain, they will be stunned and take the same damage a second time. This ability is definitely the hardest one to use properly in Vayne's kit, because if you use it improperly, you can save your enemies. With proper use, however, you will be able to stun enemies over and over again and output a lot of damage because you'll be able to proc Silver Bolts relatively easy. You will want to keep in mind that this does proc on any terrain, so if an Anivia uses Crystallize to make a wall, or Jarvan uses Cataclysm to make his little round wall thing, this procs on that as well and will stun enemies. Of course, keep in mind you can always use this to disengage as well and knock Alistar away, or move Draven out of his axes. You do always have the option of combining this with your flash as well to flash and knock somebody into a wall so you can easily kill them as well. And last but not least, we have your ultimate, Final Hour. When activated, Vayne gains bonus attack damage, triple Night Hunter's bonus, and reduces the cooldown of Tumble by 50% while also stealthing Vayne for 1 second when used. So this ultimate when used is going to make Vayne a lot stronger, so you kind of have to use it whenever you want to try to pop off in a team fight, kind of just like a Master Yi's ultimate. The duration will also be extended by kills as well, so you want to use it pretty early on if you're confident that you can get a kill or an assist. When you are tumbling around in these team fights, you want to be a little patient as well and use that 1 second stealth to make sure you position properly so the enemy can't get on top of you. In team fights, generally there's going to be all sorts of crowd control coming out from the enemy team, so use your tumble effectively and dodge them as much as possible. For your skill order, you first want to put a point into your ultimate whenever you can at 6, 11, and 16. You'll then want to focus on maxing your W ability first because it does percent HP damage that scales and can output a lot of damage for Vayne against tankier targets. You'll then want to focus on maxing your Q ability Tumble second because it does have some really nice damage on the ability and can give you some really nice movement around in team fights and duels. That means you're going to have to save your E ability for last, but make sure you take an early point in the ability at level 3 so you can push people against walls to crowd control them or just shove them off of you. For your combos on Vayne, first up we have your very simple trading combo. To pull off this combo, all you have to do is auto attack your target, use your Q as an auto attack reset, and auto attack twice more. This will proc both your press the attack and your Silver Bolts really quickly and output a lot of burst damage on a single target. Another combo you can do that is somewhat similar is auto attack your target, use your Q as an auto attack reset, auto attack again, and then use your Condemn as a third attack. This will yet again proc your Silver Bolts, but will not proc your press the attack since you didn't basic attack the target 3 times. It is still a strong combo though because at least you proc your Silver Bolts and you will push the target off of you. For your other combo here, we have your Condemn Flash. To pull off this combo, all you want to do is start casting your E, but before it hits, flash behind the target and push them into the wall. This will give your enemy a lot less time to react than just say a flash E, so you want to use this when you are trying to engage onto a target and finding an angle onto a wall. Other than these combos, you're pretty much just attacking your target as much as you can while using your Q as an auto attack reset. Vayne is a champion that synergizes well with a lot of support champions out there, and first up is some of the mixed ones like Sona and Zilean. Both of these champions are relatively strong because they can add some nice offense in the lane with their poke damage and some nice crowd control, but also bring some defensive heals and speed boosts. She also works great with offensive support champions like Zyra and Xerath because they can do a lot of poke damage and create a lot of space for Vayne while she safely farms and gets her items. As long as they can hit enemies with their crowd controls, Vayne can also safely trade with them and get off a lot of damage. Finally, since you are a champion trying to scale into the later stages, you work great with defensive supports as well, like Janna and Nami. They do bring a little bit of offense as well, but they do bring a lot of peeling for Vayne and can keep her safe throughout the majority of the game. During the lane phase, the first thing you want to prioritize is farming. You want to try to get your Blade of the Ruined King, Berserker Greaves, and your Ginsu's Rage Blade as quickly as possible because with just these 3 items, Vayne will output a ton of damage. Of course, you will want to follow up on opportunities to trade with the enemy as well, so if your support does land any crowd controls, make sure you follow up and output a lot of damage, and always look for stuns with your Condemn. You're not super strong in the early game, but you can still output a lot of damage in the right situations, and you're going to get stronger and stronger as the game progresses. On Vayne and teamfights, you're going to have to follow the golden rule of AD carries, and that's attacking the targets on the front line and staying as safe as possible. Always remember on Vayne that even if the target is tanky, you can still absolutely destroy them with your item build and your silver bolts. You of course want to prioritize a squishier target on the front line if possible, but if you need to kill a Mundo really quickly, then of course you're just going to have to focus him. Make sure you pop your ultimate when you're sure that you can get off a bunch of damage, and try to get that extended duration from your kills and assists. When you are using your tumble during your ultimate, you will want to try to reposition really quickly and stay as safe as possible, because you will be very slippery with that invisibility. Other than that, you pretty much just want to go front to back during a team fight, because you can output a lot of damage to those tankier targets as previously mentioned. So now we're going to look at Vayne's counters, and there are some AD carries that are hard for Vayne, like Misfortune and Jinx. These are champions that are going to generally have a lot longer ranges than Vayne and can easily outtrade them in the early game. It is recommended to start with a door and shield against those harder AD carries and just farm safely until you get some items, and then you can outtrade them there. Pokey support champions are also going to be pretty annoying for you. These are things like Sona and Fiddlesticks. Against these, yet again, make sure you start with a door and shield, and you will want to take some magic resist as your secondary runes, just so you're a little bit tankier against all this damage. Then finally, armor is somewhat of a counter for Vayne. It will stop some of your damage, but it's not that big of a deal at the same time because of the true damage from your W. Either way though, if there is an absolute ton of armor on the enemy team, you may want to consider getting armor penetration, but usually it's not necessary unless the enemy team is just pure tanks. Now let's look at Vayne's itemization, and first you will want to start with either a Doran's Blade or a Doran's Shield. I would recommend going for Doran's Blade whenever you think you can get away with it, but against very pokey and hard matchups, you need to go for Doran's Shield. Either way though, during that early game you want to focus on farming, and for your first buys you want to get Blade of the Ruined King and your Berserker Greaves. Just here, you're already going to do a lot of damage on Vayne because you will have some extra on-hit damage and a lot of attack speed to easily proc your W over and over again. Your Berserker Greaves are the recommended boots if you can get away with them because of the extra damage it will help you output, but you can get defensive options as well like Ninja Tabbies or Merc Treads. Now once you get these first buys, you'll want to go for a Ginsu's and a Phantom Dancer. The Ginsu's is a very strong item on Vayne because you will get some nice armor penetration, but you'll also get Ginsu's Rage when you hit 6 stacks. You will get some really nice stacking attack speed, but Ginsu's Rage will make it so every other basic attack triggers on-hit effects twice. That means on Vayne, with just 2 auto attacks, you can proc your W. This is going to be incredibly busted in teamfights. If you can stack this up really quickly and just sit there outputting your damage, you can make it through any target very, very quickly. Then you've got the Phantom Dancer just for more attack speed, some nice critical strike chance, and a great defensive shield as well when you do get on low health. Now as for that item pool, first of course you could get an Infinity Edge because you will have 50% crit chance when you get it because you already have a Phantom Dancer. You're already going to have some crazy damage before you even get your item pool. This is more so just a luxury to make your damage even more ridiculous. Now if there is a lot of crowd controls on the enemy team, you may want to consider getting a Mercurial Scimitar. This is a really solid item because if you get caught in a crowd control, you can use this ability to break the CC and start outputting your damage once again. Now you could always go for a Mortal Reminder as well. You do already have some armor penetration on the Ginsu's, so you don't really need it for that. It's more so for the reduced healing. If you are against champions that abuse healing like say a Swain, Dr. Mundo, or a Soraka, you may want to consider getting that because it will reduce that healing by a significant margin. Then finally we have a defensive option in the Guardian Angel. It will increase your damage at the same time, but the really nice part of this item is the defensive shield that brings you back to life in the later stages of the game. But that, ladies and gentlemen, covers everything I've got for Vayne in Season 9. If you guys did enjoy the video, please make sure you like and subscribe, and also check out the video description down below where I have a link to all my different social medias. But other than that, thank you guys again for watching. I really do appreciate it, so take it easy, have a good day, and peace.